We're recording now.
Yeah, no, we're always recording.
Oh, Jesus
You
Christ.
never know when the gold nuggets are going to start dropping.
Exactly. Thank
That's
you.
disgusting.
Or rising to the surface.
Welcome to So Uncouth, a podcast filled with conversations you can't have in polite company. I'm Victoria Hannaford, a recovering journalist. I'm with Caroline Craig, an actor or gold prospector. She knows where to find the gold nuggets. And we're with our friend, the mysterious Bunsen burner, who we know is a drummer. Could she be Dave Grohl's other love child? You decide.
Oh, my goodness.
No, we've taken a turn already. We are three friends who live in three different cities. You're joining our weekly catch-up and we're delighted you're here with us. Now, Bunsen, I was on the phone with you recently as I was walking into my office and I was complaining about a stench within the office, and you had some very sage advice for me, which was
What was it?
always check if the stench is coming from you.
How do you do that, though? How do you do that?
Listen, I took it to heart because that stench in the office was everywhere. And I was like, sometimes that means it is you. So I had to do a few sniff checks. And look, it was following me everywhere, but there were emails about the stench. So then I realised that perhaps it wasn't me. It was pervasive. Turned out it was coming from some pipes.
But
Oh.
I mean,
I know.
emails doesn't mean it's not coming from
No.
you.
Yeah, but they'd been sent before I'd arrived in the office,
Yeah.
Bunsen. Like, you do the
You
maths.
hadn't had time to emanate.
Lingering odours.
That's a data point. Anyway, what if the stench had been from me, though? That's what I started to wonder.
Mm.
What do you do? This is like a
That's my worst nightmare.
corporate etiquette problem. Well, what do you do if there is a stench and someone needs to be told?
Well, that is the reason why I said always check if it's coming from you, because I was once, what's the word? I was once
Employed?
well, yeah. I was once employed and it was in an office job, and I had a lot of existential crises with that.
Oh, I can imagine.
We don't need to go super deep into that. But
Yeah.
anyway, this was a couple of decades ago. But I was entrusted with the task of talking to one of my colleagues about his body odour.
Oh,
Was that
God.
in any way your responsibility? Like, were you in a managerial position?
No.
No.
I
You
mean,
just drew the short straw.
but that was part of it. Like, that was also part. It was kind of like, here I am, and I'm not even a man. I'm not even the boss. Like,
Yeah.
Are you friends with this guy? Is that why they entrusted you?
no, and it was awful. He was this really young guy, and I mean, I have a quite poor sense of smell. I think that it was probably actually kind of decent and functioning at that point in time. But he smelled really bad. Like,
Oh, just what of? Body odor, right?
yeah. But basically, I ended up having to have this kind of excruciating kind of conversation. I've sort of blocked it out of my mind. I can't even, the main thing that I got from it was that it actually wasn't body odor. It was the smell of fear. Like, he was just
God.
so anxious.
Oh, that poor guy.
And so here was I just remember just kind of go, oh, just making it worse. Anyway, I spoke to someone who worked in HR about this, like, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's an HR responsibility. That's why I'm like, why was it yours? That's one thing we know about you. You did not work in HR, right?
No. Well, I
No
don't
one
even
would
know
pay
if
you
this
to do
place
that.
had HR. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
fair.
know. They were
Yeah.
cowboys.
How did you
Office
realize it
cowboys.
was fear? How did you work that out?
Because I asked him, like, I sort of like, because he was a really young guy. He was like 18 or something. And I didn't know really any. He could barely speak. He could barely make eye contact.
Okay.
And I was completely uncertain as to his living situation or anything, because I didn't really know anything about him. And so I was just kind of, I do remember just sort of saying, like, you got to wash your clothes and just have a shower.
Oh,
Just
poor
bad
guy.
stuff.
Which is interesting given some recent conversations we've had. But anyway,
No.
not compulsory, as it turns out.
Well, it isn't.
No, but if there's a reek, it's a different matter.
It's a
Yeah.
frequency issue. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, I think it's fine to wear the same shirt 2 days in a row if it doesn't smell. You've just got to check if it smells,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
totally.
example.
Oh God.
But then I realized that I had just made the whole thing worse.
Because you could see his face was anxiety.
Sweating. Could you just
Yeah.
see a cold sweat break out over his
Yeah, and then I
skin?
just anyway, it was just this sort of awful thing.
Did he go bright red and stuff? Like, was he really embarrassed?
Yeah, I got out of there pretty quick because I was about to start smelling really bad, I tell you what.
Yeah, your own anxiety.
Yeah.
Would you want someone to tell you if you smelt, and how would you
Ooh.
want them to do it? Would you find it mortifying?
I think it really depends who says it, how they say it, context.
Yeah, I think context is everything for sure.
Yeah. It should be seen as a helping thing, though, rather than a criticism, right? You should be there to help somebody rather than like, you stink, get out. It's not that sort of vibe, is it?
Well, it's often a question of what else is going on in that person's life. So
I
that's what
know.
Bunsen has correctly identified.
Exactly. The odor is always a window into another story. So, for example,
true.
the odor in your whatever it was in your office, Victoria, is a window into some pipes, into the building, perhaps a lack of care and
Public
maintenance.
infrastructure.
Like in whatever the strata, who knows? But it's a window into another story. It's always
A
just
pipeline.
like when people fight about money in a relationship, it's never about the money.
It's
It's always
never.
about something else. Same thing with
Yeah.
smells.
Very insightful, very deep. That
Wow.
went
There's a few long bows, and I have drawn them all.
It's something that I have thought about though, and I was like, if I was younger, I would have found it mortifying.
Oh,
But if
God, yeah.
someone said to me, "You smell," I'd be like, "You know what? Fair play to you." I just don't think it would bother me that much anymore. That is one of the beauteous things about getting older is you stop giving a shit. I mean, I don't want to
And you
smell.
start smelling really bad.
Well, I think it's the other thing is you just accept you do smell bad. We all smell bad. And you've had some times where you have smelt bad and you got through it. You got through to the other side
How did you get through it,
just
Caroline?
by stinking and then then offending everyone's olfactory senses and eventually having a shower or a swim or spraying yourself with something or someone going, "Do you want to borrow my deodorant?" That's what I reckon would be the nice way to do it. Just or leaving a bottle of deodorant or soap. A lot of people give me soap at Christmas, birthdays. And I think I have a feeling now, given this conversation, what they're really saying.
Look into your infrastructure.
I'm grateful when people tell me things like that now. But yeah, right. When I was younger, it would
Yeah,
be mortifying.
yeah.
Absolutely mortifying.
Yeah, I just generally respond with anger, I have to say. Like if someone from my inner circle were
That
to
tracks.
if someone from my inner circle were to say, maybe it's time for some deodorant
You
Bunsen
reek.
or whatever, I'd probably feel a bit kind of like, oh, Jesus, okay, right, but it'd be fine. But the thing that I really have a problem is if, for example, I have a T-shirt and it's kind of going over my shoulder a little bit and you can see my bra strap, someone kind of correcting that, or a tag out the back of my shirt
Yeah.
correcting that,
Yeah.
that fills me with rage, man.
I would not be offended if any of you said to me, "Look, you've just come in hot from a long walk. You reek. Hop in." 45 seconds later.
Okay, well, that's good to
You've
know.
got 45 seconds of rinse.
Because right now, you actually look like you smell.
I haven't had a shower. Well detected. Thanks,
You're
Bunsen.
in South Australia, nothing is going to travel across the state lines. But I'm just saying,
The waft is coming at you.
yeah.
You know what? You bang on. You bang on, Bunsen. And I'm just going to be gone for 45. I'll come back.
15 seconds. I thought it was 15.
Yeah, I've got to get up the stairs though, mate. 15 up, 15 in, 15 down. I'll be back. All right, shall we move on to something slightly different?
No, let's stay. I want to talk more.
More and more about our own stench. All right. I don't just read the New York Post, I want you guys to know. I also read the New York Times. I like to straddle both high and low culture. And on my travels
Still in Manhattan.
through the august digital pages of the New York Times, I found an article that caught my eye. A soprano who despises encores interrupts her co-stars.
What?
Mm.
In the curtain call?
No, in the middle of a production. Angela Georgiou drew criticism after she stormed on stage to stop a tenor's encore during a performance of Tosca in Seoul, South Korea. It was the third act of Puccini's Tosca.
I know the song that he sang. It's very moving. He's about to be
Yeah.
shot.
Oh my God, I can't read it and my Italian's terrible. I Lucevan le Stelle, one of the opera's most beloved arias. Do you know that one, Caro?
I think it is about to be shot.
Right. So Alfred Kim, the tenor, took his moment, sang an encore, and then the celebrated soprano, Angela Giorgio, who was singing the title role in a performance recently, stormed on stage and demanded that he stop. And then she said, "Excuse me," and signalled to the orchestra to pause. And she has since faced a massive amount of online backlash.
Did she say why? Like, what does she?
Well, so she issued an apology of sorts, but it really wasn't an apology. It was via her managers, which said that these encores basically interrupt the narrative flow because they're not happening at the end of the performance.
No.
They're sort
Oh,
of
I
It's at the end of the
mid-performance.
aria. They're just like,
That's
that was
right.
amazing. And it's a very famous aria.
Oh,
they-
because I'm unfamiliar with even this etiquette that you actually
Yeah.
have an encore in the middle of a show. I didn't know that
Oh,
was a thing.
yeah. Well, Vic, we were just at the opening of Julia in Adelaide, which is
Oh,
about Julia
yes.
Gillard, and Julia
Yeah.
Gillard is from Adelaide, and the play is called Julia, and it's all
Yeah.
about
It
her.
was a homecoming. of
Homecoming, exactly. And Penny Wong was in the audience, and there were lots of, fabulous Illuminati, lots of people in the audience who were very close.
And us.
And us, of course. We're in
Yeah.
the third row. And Justine couldn't get through 10 pages without people whooping, cheering, clapping.
No, but that's a response. But I'm talking about an encore. An encore is isn't an encore when you repeat something?
An encore is when you want them to play again. Yeah,
When you
want-
want them to do it again. So
Yeah.
so this is a thing of kind of like, okay, repeat the song that you've just finished. Is that
I don't think they'd be asking them to do that. They'd just be up
So-
on their feet cheering, probably.
That's an ovation.
No, it is something that opera audiences do. They will say encore.
Encore.
Yeah.
In
there
the
is-
middle of a show.
They could do. I don't know if that happened, but he took his moment and she took her moment. So who's in the right here?
She is.
Ooh.
What
What do you think, Caro? It's your area.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's like stomping on someone else's laugh. So when someone gets a big laugh on something, you're meant to give it a space and then you say your line, mostly because no one's going to hear your line because they're all laughing. But also,
So it's actually completely self-interested.
it's entirely selfish. The stage is a selfish space. No, it's it's a little
is.
bit of etiquette, but it's also like, I get it. You want the story to keep going. Sometimes there's this sort of Goldilocks point in time where you're meant to step in with your line so that it feels seamless, as though it's a dialogue between the audience and the actor, or that and then it just bounces on. But if there is someone, and believe me, I've acted with many people like this, who, let's say, walks down to the front of the stage and performs their entire big speech as though it is a piece of stand-up with the audience, not worrying about any of the other characters on stage or even looking or referring to them, and they get huge rounds of applause and they get huge laughs, that can be incredibly frustrating because it's not really about the show anymore. It's then about their ego. So I get it. I get both sides.
Yeah. Well, what you were saying about Julia is that's a kind of interplay at times, is that the audience was actually demanding that she pause for their applause, even though it's actually probably not typical theatre etiquette to do that. But like Justine Clark was kind of forced to interrupt the narrative flow in order to accommodate the loud applause and laughter.
Yeah, it can then just become about, exactly, you're right. It becomes about something totally different. It's actually about the audience then.
Isn't that the great thing about having a live audience?
I think so.
But I actually really hate encores, like just actual straight up traditional encores.
Like in the curtain call,
Yeah.
or the band playing again.
The band, specifically with the band. Why
do you hate it?
Because it's so planned, and it's like it's the end of the concert. Oh no, it's not. They've already planned. They're going to come back and they're going to do this, and then they come back even when the audience response doesn't actually deserve it. And by that point in time, I'm always like, I just want to get out of here.
But what about when you've been on stage as a drummer? You didn't do encores? Did you have a strict no encore policy? No one ever asked for them?
I don't really think that was kind of like a 90s Melbourne music scene thing.
No,
like,
we just played until their ears bled.
Yeah.
Until you were forced off stage.
Exactly.
No more. Oh, you mean encore?
As an audience member, I just surrender to the live experience. I do agree that encores can feel a little bit stagey, but like, who cares? We all know the contract that we're kind of entering into. They're going to come back and do one of their biggest hits they've held back from the set list. And then you get to hear your favorite track. I don't know. It's really not that big a deal. I mean, I do think this is a slightly different thing where diva behaviour has kind of crossed over.
Well, I think she would say he is having diva behaviour.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? By stepping forward, I don't know if he's taking a bow. I don't know. You know what I mean? If he's breaking
Would
it.
you interrupt the performance? Because what she actually did was then fully interrupt the narrative flow by demanding that the orchestra stop. Like, far better to just let it ride.
Would we be talking about this show? Would we even know it had happened if she hadn't done that? She's doing them all a favour, mate. All a favour.
I can see her point of view. I can see standing side stage going, get on with it, mate. I want to go and have some lunch. Just get on with it. This story's got a, and this has got a big finale. I've got to jump off the top of a parapet here. Sorry, spoiler alert for Tosca. But
so that is unacceptable, Caroline. That opera has been around for only a couple of 100 years.
Bleep it.
How dare you spoil
she
it?
had some big arias to get through. Do you know what I mean? And he's standing there having a good old ego massage. I get it. And she's a purist. You know what I mean? She's like, would Puccini want this? I don't know.
You know what? I think just as the smell is always the window to something larger, I'm sure that there's a whole other story here that's just about how absolutely irritating she finds this guy. Like, he is just an annoying dude.
As well.
She's hating being on tour with him. She can't stand him, the way he drinks, the way he eats, everything absolutely irritates. And here he is. If she actually had a decent relationship with him, she'd probably indulge him to doing whatever he thinks. She'd be kind of like, oh, here he goes again. But no, she wasn't. She was just like, this is it. This is my moment.
How would you handle it, Caro? What would you do? What's your ultimate payback to a diva?
Oh, just put your foot out as he's trying to walk off stage and he can have a bit of trip and bang his nose.
Wow. Didn't see that coming. Far out.
No. Look, it's all, everything can happen on stage. I've been on stage with people who have totally broken character, laughed about my character as soon as I've walked off stage, turned to the audience, got a big laugh out of them, broken out of their accent. And then I've had to come on stage and, tell everyone I was going to kill myself or something. It's like, and you're just standing there mortified going, what can I do? What can you do in those moments? It's all happening. It's all live. It's all unfolding. I think just step in front of them and
take your moment.
Take the moment, exactly.
And right on cue, Comet is being the ultimate diva of all of us. Shall we move on to something a little bit more of a round table discussion? No, we're not going back for showering part 3, golden showers, although that's what some people were expecting.
Hoping? Not hoping.
No. So I went out for lunch this week and I had a pretty average dining experience. And I was like,
sorry.
No, it was fine. This is a middle-class complaint. I survived, but it did make me think that dining has changed a little bit post-pandemic. There's a lot of etiquette articles like, how should we dine after the pandemic? And
really?
Yeah. I think the rules are kind of different because also the service industry has faced massive shortages. So it's like a more nuanced space. Say you've got to make bookings that involve giving deposits. You're going to have a window. You've got 90 minutes to eat and then you've got to leave. There's a lot of set menus that you have to dine from.
A lot of ordering from a QR code.
I was going to say QR code.
Yeah. So I went hunting for the new rules of dining etiquette and came across an article in the Sydney Morning Herald.
Had you broken
We'll get to that. But I wanted to know what you guys think about these, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do aim to arrive on time. If you're running late, let your dining companions know. Yes or no?
Interesting.
What's late?
Yeah, exactly.
What if it's raining? I mean, come on.
I think.
What if your phone's dead? There's always that.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
I think 15 minutes is the absolute outer limit of what you can do without letting somebody know. 10 minutes, that's all right.
That's a margin, that everyone should expect. Well, the second point from the writer, who is Alice Zaslavsky,
Mm.
she says, "Don't worry too much if your companions are tardy. I say this as someone who is always late but worth the wait. I like to
Oh.
think that lateness is a sign of optimism, not rudeness." Good for you, mate. Wouldn't agree,
Wow.
but anyway.
Optimism. Oh, I understand where she's coming from. Yeah, like I always overestimate just how much I can do in a short amount of time. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's my life. I don't recommend it.
Because it's stressful. You start
Yeah.
emanating a bit of a rough stench.
That's right. You stink of lateness. You stink of tardiness.
Stink of fear,
Exactly.
pissing people off.
Fumes.
So she also says, do send a photo or PDF of the menu to stragglers while you wait so they can percolate while running late. I think that is passag.
No time to percolate. My phone is dead.
Yeah.
And also that's kind of usually when you're running late, you're actually feeling very stressed and looking on a phone. I hate looking at menus on phones. I hate it.
Yeah, please don't do that. Thank you, Alice.
I don't think that's going to help anyone, honestly. I don't want to order for people before they've arrived.
I've got it. Yeah, I'd rather someone order for me. I'd like that.
Actually, sometimes I just don't want to make any choices. Like I just want somebody else to make decisions.
Hand over the reins.
Yep.
So the next point, this is the one I thought was interesting. Do treat wait staff courteously. They're your host for the evening and you're in their house. That is a fair enough comment, right? However, what if they're not that courteous to you, as I experienced at the lunch I had recently?
Really?
Yeah, they were
But
not.
everyone in Adelaide was lovely.
Yeah, no, we.
You found the one
not.
place.
Victoria's not.
Well,
she's in Adelaide.
She's bringing them.
I brought the median down
quite clearly because the wait staff are rude to her, so she must be an arsehole.
She's teaching them the ways.
We have been wait staff before, and sometimes things can veer off a little bit, right?
How were they rude?
So the situation was we were a party of 7 and they had a compulsory set menu for parties of 7 or above, which we hadn't quite clocked.
Okay.
And it's a lunchtime. I don't want 6 courses. No one else at the table did. They served pasta, which I think is pretty standard for wanting your own dish, right?
And you have to share it.
No, that was what they wanted us to do. And then in the end, we just said we just want our own individual meals because we want to be in and out within an hour.
But is that them being rude to you?
I think it's like, I think you can bend the rules in a restaurant. And she was not very happy about bending the rules and made it very clear that she was unhappy. And it's like, we could have also left. Like, you could make a hard out on that. And I wouldn't consider that rude. You just go, very sorry, that's our rule. And you're more than welcome to dine at our cafe next door if you just want to have a lighter lunch.
Oh, you were in the fancy restaurant bit where you share plates and things.
Yeah, so it was a really, really tricky thing to navigate. And then my dish came out and it was disgusting.
No.
It was inedible.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was seared tuna and it was just.
Sounds nice.
No, it was not good. It was literally inedible. So what do you do? What do you do in those circumstances?
You pluck a hair off your head, you put it in the dish and you say, sorry, I can't eat this. There's human body matter in my food and I don't feel confident in the kitchen anymore. I'll just leave. I just won't have anything. Thanks very much. That's what I would do.
And you
or a fingernail.
Oh, fingernail. You pull your own fingernails off. Or pull someone else's fingernail. It's a share plate. I'm pulling your fingernail off.
No, just being like a little, just something. Just except it couldn't be one of your hairs, Vic, because that would be probably a dead giveaway. Because it would be so long. But you'd have to actually kind of get the cooperation of, or you might have to go to the bathroom and retrieve. Anyway.
A pube? Is that what you're suggesting?
That is a lot.
I think that the pube is kind of like.
Bunsen, do you know that genetic testing is widely available to the consumer market now?
That's next level.
Also, there's no guarantee that anybody in the kitchen or the wait staff actually has pubic hair.
Exactly. Like we are just going down a path. No.
And you're just going to put your hand down your pants in the middle of the restaurant. I don't know if that is etiquette.
No, you go to the bathroom.
Anyway, I did not do any of those things. I just told them that it was inedible and sent it back.
Good on you. I would never do. I mean, I'm really proud of you for doing that.
No, it was genuinely disgusting.
Really?
Like, yeah, it was. It is rare for me to say something is inedible.
Is it?
Like, yeah.
You've often said that my food's inedible.
I have never said your food is inedible, Bunsen.
In your actions, not in your words.
No, I just like a bit of spice. One of the other rules for this is
I'm fascinated.
Do not season a dish before you've tasted it. Well, that's a rule I regularly break.
Yeah.
I actually heard once, I don't know if it was Bill Gates or someone,
Bill Gates.
said that he often took people out. It was like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, that
One
sort
of
of
those
dudes.
tech bros, yeah.
Like if they're thinking about giving someone a big job, they'll take them out for
Oh,
lunch.
yeah.
And then if they season their food, if they put salt on it or whatever before even tasting it, then that's a big red flag because
They're
it
not doing
shows
it.
that they're not responding to what's in front of them. They're
Oh,
creatures of
God.
habit, so they're not going to be able to be flexible and develop
Yeah, well,
innovative solutions in the workplace.
Oh, they like it salty, mate. Huh?
I said that to my father recently because he regularly pours like half
Yeah.
a canister of salt on his food, and he just gave me this blank look and then
My
just
old
kept
day.
pouring the salt.
Yeah.
I just eyeballed you like as the salt just kept coming out.
Yeah, it's just kind of
Yeah.
like, I don't want a job with Steve Jobs.
No, I want hardened arteries.
And he's dead anyway. So fuck that. Sorry. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't do it with salt and pepper. I will do it with chili, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a bit of a loosey-goosey rule. It's
Look,
on
if
you.
it's scrambled eggs, it's salt and pepper, mate. I mean, think about it. Depends. It's very dish specific.
No, I actually think you've got to taste it first. I'm in the Steve
Well,
Jobs
you're
camp.
getting the Steve Jobs job.
Are
Okay.
you a tech bro,
Sure.
Bunsen? Is that something else we're finding out about you?
Dun, 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 dun. We're narrowing it down, Hannaford.
Oh, now listen, I'm just going to whip through the rest of these. So it says, do eat with your hands when the opportunity arises.
Oh,
All
no.
right, fair
I
enough.
hate eating with my hands.
Yeah,
My
don't know
husband
about that.
loves eating with his hands. I hate it.
Yeah.
Is there one about licking bowls?
No, and that really upset me because I really wanted a verdict on that.
Drinking from bowls? What about picking up the bowl and drinking it?
It says,
I always do
don't dig your cutlery into communal plates unless it's family.
that. Oh,
Well, who gives a
wow.
shit? Anyway, no, the one that I thought was interesting was do discuss splitting the bill at the top of the meal to make the end more streamlined. Because, Carrie, you told me you're not drinking. So are you
Yeah.
unwilling to get stuck with other people's booze, like
Oh,
the
that's
cost of booze?
interesting.
Because that is usually equal to the cost of food if there's drinking.
Yeah, that's a good point. Considering the only people I've been out for dinner with are my parents.
That's a big booze bill.
That's a big
It's a big, big booze bill. That's when the desserts arrive and my stepdad says, we'll have another bottle of that white. Thank you. I'm like, no, we're leaving in 5 minutes.
I'm just wrapping up, mate.
Yeah. Oh, but I'm really bad. I'm really bad with the paying. I'm always trying to pay. I always go up, do that sneaky thing of rushing, trying to go off and pay. And then
I think actually having a conversation at the beginning of the meal would be really
Yeah.
weird because you don't know how things are going to pan out. I might have dessert. I might not.
Maybe someone's going to turn up half an hour into the meal.
Yeah.
Someone's going to turn up optimistically.
Exactly. And also, if I put a pube in my food, I'm not paying for anything, mate. But you just don't know what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Who knows which fights are going to break out between me and the wait
Yeah.
staff? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
All my dining companions.
Yes. And the final word from this writer is do lighten up in general. Dining should be a place of comfort and frivolity, not one-upmanship and status signalling.
Wow, that's after 19 rules, though.
Yeah.
I don't know what universe this person is living in because it's happening around me and I'm not aware of it. Like there is status and one-upmanship in dining and I'm not aware of it. I don't even know what she's talking about.
I would say that's also part of this podcast. We're constantly one-upping each other, you know?
I smell more than you. I stink heaps bad.
Exactly.
I'll raise you a head hair with a pube.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we got to rewrite the rules on that.
A race to the bottom, actually, with us, I think.
Well, is it time for our So Uncouth of the Week?
We already just done it, but yeah, we've been so uncouth, but yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We'll
Do you want to
another one.
award yourself the So Uncouth of the Week?
Oh.
No.
Maybe
no.
we should make it a competition. Maybe.
I don't think we should ever.
I think we'd know who'd win.
On to our So Uncouth of the Week. Now, this is something I did find on the New York Post, and I apologise in advance for my poor reading habits, but here we are. 38-pound rescue cat Crumbs gets stuck in shoe rack while trying to escape from a fat camp. In quotes, he caused a ruckus. He was stuck between a rack and a hard place. This is the article verbatim. A fat cat's attempt to escape a diet centre backfired horribly after the flabby tabby got trapped in a shoe rack. The feline, named Kroshik, Russian for Crumbs, was discovered by staff attempting to break out of the centre in Perm, Russia, where he had sentenced to a strict workout regimen and food rationing. Newsflash reported. Photos show the corpulent cat, who weighs almost 38 pounds, which is about 17 kilos,
Oh my God, that's how much our dog weighs.
Yeah, I don't want to fat shame the cat though.
Sorry, that's a
Wedged
big cat.
between the bars of the shoe shelf with his face stuffed in a bright blue crock.
Oh, poor Kroshik.
Poor Kroshik. Apparently, he was extremely displeased when we found him disguised as slippers, but after a portion of food, he mellowed out.
Mate, if I was a cat in Russia, I'd be eating up. I'd be eating up big. I want to stay warm. It's cold there.
One of the vets has said his ill-fated escape attempt was actually a good sign because it demonstrated he's a very active guy. And I think
He got into the shoe rack. I mean, that's a fair effort.
what they've done here is really misunderstood the character of Crumbs, because Crumbs sounds like a crime lord. He was found in a basement of a hospital and was overfed by staff to the point where he ended up in this fat camp. And
Oh.
they don't really understand who Crumbs is, because Crumbs looks to me like a cat focused on world domination.
It's like a mafia boss cat,
Exactly.
Yeah.
an oligarch.
One of those swivelly chairs with his
Yeah.
tail. Like, this.
The power of the fat cat, though, I once lived for a very short and ill-fated period of time with two extremely large cats who were so fat. They had double chin.
Did their stomachs sort of graze the ground?
Yeah. And I came home once. I had a box of saladas. They had managed to open a cupboard, get the box out, undo the box, undo the plastic that the saladas were in. Who knew that cats even like saladas?
Exactly.
Eat the entire packet of saladas, just leaving crumbs
Crumbs.
all around.
You sure it wasn't your housemate? Because I just don't see cats eating crackers.
No, this is exactly my point. Do not fuck with fat cats, okay? Because they're going to come after you. They're going to find your saladas. They're going to find the mute codes. They're going to take over the world, all right? Now, Crumbs, if you're out there, we're on your side. We've got some listeners in Russia. I don't know whether Crumbs is one of our listeners, but I'm very sorry for anything disparaging that I've said about cats in the past.
Yeah.
I did say some things, but I didn't mean it.
Not personally about Crumbs.
No, I'm going to do a reverse ferret and say that I'm very pro-cat, okay? And
I'm pro fat cat.
yeah, exactly. And I want to fat shame cats. Crumbs, you're our new leader. And as I said, we've got listeners in Russia, so I just want everyone to be happy. And so to use, I say, das Vidanya. Copies later.
That's done now.
Copies later.
Yeah.
Someone